Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you are right now. And welcome to our presidential chat, reflecting on 10 years of Bordeaux-Waterloo partnership with President Manuel Tunon de Lara from the University of Bordeaux and our own President Feridun Hamdoulahpour. My name is Christine McWebb. I'm the Assistant Vice President International at the University of Waterloo. And I have the pleasure of moderating this conversation today. Before we begin, I would just like to point to our International Week this week. Yufi, can you confirm that I am, that everybody can hear me? I just want to make sure. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So I will continue, and you can see my my screen as well, just to make sure. The slides.
Your Teams is blocking the slides right now.
Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just drawing everybody's attention to International Week. International Week, of course, is taking place all week this week. And more than any other year, I believe this is a very, very important event as it brings together with over 40 mostly virtual events this year that are hosted by the University of Waterloo, bringing together our student, staff, and faculty community. So I think this is very, very important and a great event, and I would encourage everybody to check out some of the activities that are taking place, and you can see just a sample of them in the slide. So I'm going to turn it back now to our speakers. And I would just like to start by saying a few words about both of them. So a doctor of medicine specializing in pneumology, a doctor of science, university professor, and hospital practitioner, Manuel Tunon de Lara was elected as the first president of the University of Bordeaux in 2014. However, I should mention that the new University of Bordeaux is comprised of several universities in the Bordeaux region that have, of course, been in existence for much longer, actually since the Middle Ages, I think the 15th century. Spanish by origin and a citizen of Bordeaux by adoption, Manuel Tunon de Lara grew up in Paris before moving to Pau in the southwest of France. He completed his studies with a PhD in life sciences at the Paris Descartes University and the Institut Pasteur, then with postdoctoral studies at the University of Southampton in Great Britain. Having become a well-known specialist in the field of asthma and allergies, he does clinical work at the Bordeaux Teaching Hospital in the Respiratory Diseases Department, which he also runs. Professor Tunon de Lara has written a number of scientific publications and is also an expert in various French and international medical and scientific reviews, as well as for various universities and research and health agencies in France and abroad. A humanist with an open outlook, a wealth of international experience, and a knowledge of foreign universities, Professor Tunon de Lara was particularly committed to the international aspects of the University of Bordeaux II. As the leader of a project focusing on the construction of the Bordeaux site, he was elected president of the Bordeaux-Ségalen University in 2008 and then re-elected in 2012. During his terms in office, he led the project to set up the Bordeaux University Foundation and coordinated future investment projects, including the Excellence Initiative, labeled as one of the top 3 projects in France. And this is really an incredible achievement of recognition for the university. Now to our own president, Feridun Hamdoulahpour has been an engineer, educator, and leader over the span of his more than 35-year career in research and higher education. Dr. Hamdoulahpour has served as the 6th president and vice chancellor of the University of Waterloo since 2010. Throughout his career, Dr. Hamdulapur has been an active researcher in thermofluids and energy engineering, a passionate teacher and an academic administrator. His current focus at the University of Waterloo is expanding its lead in innovation, building on Waterloo's long-standing and emerging strength in cooperative education, research, entrepreneurship, and equity. The president is one of 10 global university presidents named a United Nations He4She Impact 10 by 10 by 10 champion, selected to engage boys and men in the cause of gender equity. In acknowledgement of President Hamdulapur's leadership in education and innovation, he was awarded the Insigne de Chevalier des Palmes Académiques by the French Republic in February 2019, the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in January 2013, and a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada in 2018. So welcome to you both. Before we begin, just a little bit of housekeeping. We will not be able to address any questions from the audience during this event. However, we do have the chat open, so we would encourage you to post your questions in the chat. We will collate them and we will send them to both presidents once this event concludes, and they will then have an opportunity to reply by email, and they will also be posted online. So without further ado, welcome again, President Tunon de Lara and President Hamdulapur, and I will just turn it over to you briefly to say hello to the audience before we will begin the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you and congratulations for organizing this International Week. I'm very pleased to meet with my friend Feridun. Usually we have different meetings during the year, but with the COVID situation, we haven't it for a while. And it's good to see you and all of you and to have all the students connected. So congratulations again.
Thank you, and good morning and bonjour, everybody. It is again, Christine, first, thank you so much for a kind introduction and also for organizing this event. It is absolutely something to celebrate. It is what we have accomplished is phenomenal. With my good friend Manuel, he is right. We would have been having this conversation differently. And Manuel, I was tempted. It's a bit early in the morning. I wanted to have a glass of Bordeaux wine here just to say that, well, we're still sharing this, but I'll reserve it for another time. Thank you so much again for being part of this fantastic partnership. Could not have happened without your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you to you both. So why don't we start right there? Actually, so this year is the 10-year anniversary of the Bordeaux-Waterloo partnership. And of course, if it weren't for COVID-19, we would have had an in-person celebration for sure to mark this, to mark the formal partnership. But obviously, we are not able to do this. So why don't you both start by telling us what makes this relationship so special and why it has been so fruitful over the years? And I'm sure we'll hear lots of examples of research activities that have been going on in the last 10 years. But let's just start by digging a little bit into the background of this relationship, if either one of you would like to start.
Okay. So, shall I start?
Sure. Sure, go ahead.
Well, it's always difficult to explain, but I think we have a very strong relationship for different reasons. First of all, I think we are quite similar universities with quite nice potential in terms of science, research, strong emphasis on research and innovation. For me, Waterloo University have always been a strong example of the innovation initiatives, and also the approach with the students, the co-programs are so fruitful. It has been really an example for the University of Bordeaux. Second, I have to say that we have a long history of collaboration in some topics like chemistry, and with very potent networks. I mentioned the network included in the European Union with Waterloo University, and some other aspects that in which the university nowadays has to play a role. And during my last visit in Waterloo, we talked a lot about the SDG agenda and this approach, which you are a reference, and this is for us a particular aim, and we have now a network. We know we are French, but France in Europe, and the importance of Europe, it's quite strong for higher education and research. And we are trying to do the same with a network of European universities called Enlight here. And this is because of this very special relationship we have. But I'm sure that Feridun has other complementary explanations.
Thank you so much, Manuel. Yes, if there is, I'm sure are a lot of people who write book chapters or books on international relations, international collaboration. Our collaboration, our partnership, our friendship should be taken as a top case study in that book if anybody wants to do something like this. And you're right, Manuel, it's like many other partnerships, research partnerships. That's how our relationship started. Researchers to researchers, they saw some areas of collaboration. They had prior professional connections, and then they put those to work, and they were getting good results out of this, good publications, and a very linear outcome in the form of they were putting one from here, one from there. They were getting two out of this. And chemistry, yes, is the right topic they started, but there's the metaphorical chemistry. The chemistry among the partners and broader groups was also right. And I think they started seeing something broader than just one-to-one relationship, one-to-one collaboration. And you are also so right. University of Bordeaux itself is a very innovative university. Its basic creation is innovation on its own that was able to bring so many different parts together and saying that, look, if you want to go further, if you want to be a force majeure in the world, this is the time we need to, do this. And I think that happened. It was remarkable that could happen. And from Waterloo's perspective, there was not a single day that we don't think about how we could do things differently, how we could do things better, and we don't sit on our status quo. So from there on, it started growing, and we started building our relationship broadening much bigger than individual researcher to researcher relationship. While they grew, the broader aspect of it grew. We started seeing things that will mean something to the world. We started seeing things, look, we have two nodes of excellence, thousands of miles apart from each other, but they are so close in our minds. And we started building this. This time, if I could use this simple arithmetics, this was no longer 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 1 is 6, 8, 10. And this is the kind of impact we expected from ourselves, from the relationship. Of course, there was tremendous respect, recognition, and trust among partners. And that built into also beautiful friendships. And this is how it is moving forward. It has moved forward and continuing to move forward to create a seamless entity that we have a lot of depth, significant scientific depth, but it is definitely as deep as the sciences. The social aspect of it is also quite deep. So we are able to connect those, and objective is, yes, we want to make a difference in our students' lives. We want to make a difference in our researchers' career, but we also want to make a difference in the world by tackling some very big challenges together.
That's great. Thank you so much to both of you for that answer and for the discussion of the relationship. In fact, it's really quite impressive. To date, we have 34 collaborations between the two universities. So you're absolutely right. And they no longer just focus on chemistry, which I believe was the starting relationship, as you mentioned, but they now really have expanded to collaborations on functional materials, nanosciences, water, energy, aging, AI, and health. So it covers quite a spectrum in the sciences and the social sciences, which is wonderful to see. And both of you actually mentioned the fact that this collaboration between the two universities came out of initially something very small and a personal relationship, which is often the case with university collaborations that last for a long time. So I do agree with you that the social aspect absolutely has to work as well, and it seems to work beautifully in this case. So it's wonderful to see. So I'm wondering if we could move on to talking a little bit about the latest initiative, which is the Joint Institute, the I2SB, the Intersectional Institute for Societal Benefits, for societal benefit, that has been set up and that we're currently working on. Would either one of you like to say a few words about that, if you wish?
Go ahead, Manuel. I'll follow you.
Thank you. Well, one point, Christine, that is to me very important, and that was underlined by the president, is the question of trust. We are not competing. We do think that pushing together, that sharing our science, we can have better results joined than alone. And so this is important. And this was also the reason why when we met a couple of years ago, and this was the idea of Feridun, was why not going a step further? Why not having a sort of tool? We have so many collaborations. We need a further step with something specially organized between both universities, and having this institute, and for the benefit of society, is another very important aspect. Universities now, and we are at the moment of COVID crisis, I think that this collaboration and this across the ocean and are very important, and we have to demonstrate that sharing our views and our excellence can help the society. And so this was the spirit of having this institute, and we have some scientific aspects that are going to be developed, and I think with a potent approach, thanks to the complementary aspects of both universities. I think this is the spirit, Feridun, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. I think, like anything else, if you don't have the actual doers, nothing will happen. Manuel and I, we can have absolutely the best ideas in the world, but if it has not come from, bottoms up, we can't go and do their work. And just like anything else, we can devote 1 or 2 hours or 1 or 2 days, and then there are other things. But there are people who truly believed in this, and I should mention actually a few of them. This could not have happened without the devotion, dedication, long hours that Laurent Servan, Jeanette Arnaud, Terry McMahon, and many others spent on this. So this is, to me, a natural evolution of this beautiful partnership. But at the end, I use this metaphor several times. There is tremendous amount of energy in there. But coming from an engineer, if you're not harnessing this energy, that energy is just entropy. And it's just going to dissipate. This is what the idea of this joint institute is, to harness this energy and grow the momentum in a directional way that it is heading somewhere. At the same time, to provide an entity, joint entity to our collaborators, to our colleagues and future colleagues, in a funny way, I will say, to call home. This is the environment within which there are no boundaries. You're not the University of Bordeaux or Waterloo. You are in this environment. The students, graduate students, postdoc, faculty members, they are there. They're working. They're creating ideas. They're creating, solutions to some very important challenges that Manuel alluded to. So that is the idea. We can either we've built something beautiful. We could keep it at the same level and keep it going, and we should expect outcomes at the same level, or we can up the ante. We can say that this is where we want to go. Therefore, is it risky? Of course, there's a risk. We are trying something. What if it doesn't go the way we plan? But if the risk is not there, then you can expect the rewards to be greater. So this is where it's going. I am tremendously committed and excited about it. Unfortunately, the pandemic kind of, threw a little bit of cold water onto it, slow things down. But I think it is a great initiative. If I may take 2 more minutes, Christine, many of our colleagues around the world at many universities, they have just started talking about collaboration. Just a month ago at an international forum, some of my colleagues who belong to top 10, 20 university rankings openly said, look, we don't really care about rankings anymore. This pandemic is reminding us, what this is all about. I think it's all about how we can collaborate with each other, how we can put our forces together, strengths together, because if we are too myopic at looking into, oh, well, this year, again, I am ranked at such and such level, the world may be slipping by us, and then we will still be stuck with our ranking. So it's time to really understand that we all belong in here, and collaboration is a very important aspect.
That's, I think, a really good point that you both made, how important it is for universities to collaborate and maybe not to be focused so much on where we all fit in kind of the hierarchy of universities. I think that's a great point to make. So if you don't mind, I'd just like to pick up on this one a little bit more. Unfortunately, right now, yes, a lot of us are realizing the importance of collaboration, and we embrace this idea. At the same time, however, there seems to be a movement towards, how can I say, more towards protecting our own interests, right? So I think that as much as we embrace the idea of collaboration, there are a lot of skeptics out there that do not, and that in the time of COVID, in fact, go the other direction. We see this in global politics in certain countries and elsewhere. So I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on just trying to imagine what you would say to the skeptics out there who do not believe in collaboration and who would tell you, especially on the global level, that perhaps we need to focus more on our national matters, that we need to look more inward rather than open up. I don't know who would, President Hamdullah, would you like to start?
I'm happy to, but Manuel just started with a thought. If you want to go ahead, or I can. You're pushing a button that will be difficult.
Yes, well, I think that this situation is a very good example of the need for science, and in fact, wondering whether science has to play a role, and having this skeptics attitude, it's one more reason for having this sort of collaboration. We need to have science, we do need more science, but we need also to have landmarks. Universities have to be landmarks, and in a different time scale, when at least in French, we noticed that with the crisis, you know. I'm sorry, Bordeaux wine does not protect against COVID. We had COVID, and we had these consequences of COVID, and I think we had the same questions, the same about science and scientific landmarks, and having on each side of the Atlantic Ocean these complementary approaches, I think that may be a very strong approach to tackle these skeptics' attitudes. And we need more to do that with our own university networks. But I think it's easier when you have two universities like Waterloo and Bordeaux collaborating for 10 years and about to launch a common institute.
Thank you so much.
So, to follow up, Manuel, first, let me put a couple of points. Of course, right after the pandemic, there were people out there. Of course, there were a lot of speculations flying around, one of which was, of course, look at the supply chain management, how dependent many countries are on each other, and you have to look at a more local supply chain management, and dependence on other places and countries should be minimized. And is globalization still a thing, or should we think about deglobalization and everybody is on its own, and those kind of things. Very soon, actually, in first the fight against COVID, and then the quest to find either the vaccine or other things, showed everybody that no such single institution or country is capable of providing those answers. The answers had so many various science-based, technology-based, medicine-based components that came from all over the world, from so many different places. So that did not, I think, maybe it's still in the minds of some political leaders, and I will not go into this further, but I can tell you that among university colleagues and leaders, this is not something that we talk about. We do the contrary. Yesterday, I took part with 17 other institutions in discussing collaboration on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, how we can collaborate. A week before that, with another group of colleagues looking at other things. So we are, on the contrary, talking about collaboration. Science has no borders. Education should have no borders. Discovery, knowledge should have no borders. And this is exactly what we're doing. There may be a tendency, Christine, in the beginning, just like the when you board an aircraft, which, gosh, I can't remember when I did it last time, but nevertheless, the announcement, should the oxygen mask drop, please put it on yourself first and then to the person next to you. Many of us try to do this, but I think we have our oxygen masks on. We are not deprived, and it is time to share it with others. So what would that mean? This is exactly the time where other factors will start kicking in. Like in many countries, like every single university, I don't know of a single university who has not successfully transformed into remote online learning. Okay, we are able to do this thanks to the availability of technology. There is not a single university that did not put the opening of their research labs as a priority. We have classes, we have research labs, they're all operating. But the tendency is, look, if you can have your teaching and learning done remotely, and if you can have some other means of income, maybe you need to rethink of what a university should look like and how you should get funding for it, which is very linear, very primitive thinking of what university is about. University is a place where learning and inclusivity, they go hand in hand. That is the reason why for thousands of years, universities has been absolutely the foundation, pillars, cornerstones of our civilization, society. They will continue doing that. We will not be doing everything the same way we have been doing. There has definitely been changes. So this is a cliche, the new normal will be different, but we are the ones who are creating that new normal. And this institute idea goes well before anybody was able to spell COVID, okay, was part of this new normal thinking. So I think in a way, we are ahead of it, we're not behind it, and by doing what we're doing, we're not giving anybody an opportunity to say that university education can be a very transactional, linear process.
If I can pick up on a couple of things that you both mentioned. So if I hear you right, then you both see tremendous opportunity in the face of the crisis that we are living in general, but also in particular for the Intersectional Institute for Societal Benefit. So let's talk about this a little bit more. And what I'm particularly interested in hearing from both of you about is what would be the role of students within this institute. So you both emphasize the role of teaching and learning in order to enhance collaborative efforts. How would this play out within the institute? So what kinds of opportunities do you see for students in the institute?
I could go first if you like.
Go ahead.
First, it is all about them. If we are thinking about any idea about what future is going to be like, they are the ones who are going to create it. They are the ones who are going to make it happen. So what we are doing at our institutions, we are giving them the best knowledge, best tools in the form of knowledge, self-determination, better understanding of the world, better understanding of the issues, and how they could best align themselves, accordingly. So this is the investment we are making on them, so that there will be a better future for everybody. So in that regard, their education is tremendously important. And as I said, the education, as grateful as I am for the technology and as powerful as it has been, and there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that it will continue to become a very important element of how we do things. I don't think that it should be the only thing. It is a powerful tool, but it will remain as a powerful tool. Christine, when you walk into your classroom, when you start your teaching, you are one body, one entity with your students. You look into their eyes, you don't have to say anything, you understand what's going on. So an accidental question to somebody whispers a comment, the other one catches it, an idea starts growing, and that idea becomes a tremendously valuable, piece of information for everybody. I'm just, giving it as an example, but this is what it is. Our campuses are not just environments to provide buildings and chairs and seats and, classrooms to our students. Our campuses are the environment where this whole, whatever you call it, fermentation, the whole growth, all of those things happen. And that's the reason why we need to continue at our institutions investing in absolutely the best intellectual environment for them possible. An essential and integral part of that environment is to open up our campuses to other institutions, especially our international collaborators, not just from cultural aspects, but to combine their tremendous depth, knowledge, and their own, specialization, so that the world opens up to them. This is where I see our students being so important, that they are in an environment, they have the best technological tools to learn, they are taught by some of the best minds, not just our own institution, around the world, because we can also make that happen. They are exposed to some of the best state-of-the-art research in any discipline, and they are in an environment that they may be studying one subject perfectly, but they are exposed to so many other things. Therefore, they can sit at the intersection of many of those, and this is where many new innovations, many discoveries, many, fantastic things will happen. So this is my picture. This is the picture with which I go to bed and I wake up in the middle of the night because I'm so excited about this picture.
That's great. So just for the audience, I guess this will also explain where the term intersectional comes from. Then,
I totally agree with Feridun. This is the right approach, and I think that in this respect, well, we have to admit that teaching has to be based on science, on the best science, and all Feridun said is very important. But we cannot predict everything. And education has to prepare our students not to predict things, but how to deal with a question and a new event, the new frontiers of science. And for that, there is only one way, is base education on the best science. And another aspect, you mentioned that our universities in Europe were quite old, and at this period of time, the students already had, they used to travel from the university to another. It's very important to travel to a country to another, and hopefully we can have these approaches. But I think nowadays we have to organize that between universities. It's not, I think that just having the experience of another university like your university, or it's not enough, and you have to if you need the widening of the science and the cultures, and you have to organize it. And this is also one reason for the institute. The institute can play this role of strengthening these approaches for our students. So I think this will be a fantastic tool for our students now and in the future.
You are absolutely right, President de Lara, that the physical visit of different universities in Europe has always played a great role to the Erasmus program, for example, right? So there's a lot of coming and going at different institutions in Europe. So how are we going to do this in the next little while? I'd just like to hear your thoughts a little bit further on, I mean, what we have available to us right now is virtual, at least for the next while. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you see virtual collaboration kind of as, how can I put this, as the poorer version of physical visits, or do you also see opportunities in virtual collaborations, and not just between students, but also between faculty members? And would this then be something to stay in future, that perhaps we would have a hybrid version of collaborative efforts, of teaching, of supervising students, etc.?
So Christine, sorry.
Yes,
go ahead.
please go on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kurt.
So Christine, a virtual relationship is better than no relationship, but at the same time, it shouldn't be the only means. I believe human beings, we are, or I could just narrow it down to we academics, okay, we are quite resilient. I mean, we are also very astute in terms of we understand the threats and challenges and everything. And first we need to protect ourselves and our students and everybody around us, and we're doing this. In the meantime, we do not pull the plug on our relationship. We use the technology to continue our relationship. But the relationship becomes stale after a while if this is the only means. And I believe that we will make progress. We will make progress. I mean, the specialist is sitting right next to you, will tell you that next year things will be different. I hope will be different. We will never ignore COVID, but we will learn to live with it. We'll try to outsmart it by us being careful. And at one point, we will absolutely satisfy our need to be physically with each other, to be physically present in the classrooms with our students, doing it in a way that is safe, that is correct. But again, I foresee that having this remote relationship is enabling us to plan for and dream for those days that we will actually sit across from each other, roll up our sleeves, and work on even greater things.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, and I think that, well, this is obviously a temporary situation. So on the one hand, we have transitional arrangements, and but we are also learning a lot. I list in France and in the French side and for French universities, and the way of organizing education and classes and virtual classes is, we are changing our way of organizing some aspects. And I think that this is also a point to share with other universities, because I think we will have a new step. The COVID pandemic will finish. I don't know when, in a year or in 2 years, but perhaps we will have other pandemics, or perhaps we can have other events related with the climate change, and it's our role to organize ourselves And this is very, I think, very important. And these virtual and technical aspects can also be well improved, and in a French experience, I know that you are very good in these aspects, and probably the Canadian students already have tools and different kind of classes that French students don't have yet. But I think that in the future, these new aspects are going to play an important role in our collaboration, because we will not have the same approach than yesterday's.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, that a lot of what we're doing now in terms of our virtual activities will probably stay, and for good reason, if nothing else, then that we have become, all of us, much more comfortable in this environment. So I think that's a good thing, right? So I'm always looking for the positive in situations, and for things that we might want to improve on. And I do believe that because of the limitations that we are facing right now for physical visits, this is certainly something where we are gaining a lot of experience, and our comfort level has gone way up. So I mean, whereas I don't know how many Teams meetings you were in prior to the pandemic, it was not something that I was used to. So but now we're all used to it. I'm not saying that, you know, we're going to keep this 100%, but I think it's just good to know that we have an alternative that we can build on if the need arises. So the one question that I would really love to hear your answers to is just going back to our conversation. This is the 10-year anniversary of the relationship, and just to let our audience know as well that, again, I know we already mentioned this, but in 2009 and 10, this relationship was very small. It was a fledgling collaboration based on just informal faculty exchanges. And then it grew into a joint doctoral school, I believe between 2009 and 2013. There were lots of workshops after that until 2014, and then we have had signed agreements later on. So you can kind of see how each step built on the other. And then, of course, in the last few years, like I mentioned earlier, we've had a proliferation of joint research projects. And now we have this wonderful institute that's being created. So my question to both of you, and perhaps President de Lara, you can start, is where do you see the relationship and the collaboration between the two universities going in the next 10 years? So where would you like us to be?
The next 10 years.
10 years from now. Not that anybody has a crystal ball, so this is kind of your blue sky.
We will come with Feridun to check.
Okay, that's a great start.
But no, I think this is a sort of pioneer institute. So perhaps this institute is going to give an example to other universities and other networks. We have very nice networks. We learn a lot from the also U15 network in Canada.
Yeah.
And with Feridun, and it's facilitating a lot the connection. And we are setting up a sort of U15, which is U10 in France. And I think that these sorts of initiatives are going to be good examples. But I think a wish would be to have an impact on society or on some aspects of life in society. I've noticed that in the strategic plan of your university, in Waterloo University, you have two keywords. I think it's imagination and impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this institute needs to provide an impact. And I think that that would be great to, in 10 years, to measure the impact of such an institute, because it can be an impact in terms of science, in terms of education. We have been talking about the students, a new way of education based on science, also in impact with in respect of the society environment, and this would be a good way to demonstrate that this was a very good initiative of our universities.
So you see this going further than just the two universities, but being integrated into collaborations with the U15 as well, and then other universities in France?
I think this is a pioneer initiative, and I think that if our both universities demonstrate that setting up such an institute provides all what we are thinking about, and if we reach our aims, this will be an example for others.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it's a great way of demonstrating when you have something really good, the others will also come, and then you'll grow stronger, and the impact will be greater. I think in 10 years, we definitely want to see that impact. We want to see that what we have here right now will evolve into something bigger, different, but nevertheless, the essence, the core spirit of the relationship will be there, and it will be enabling some other wonderful things happening, bringing partners from other parts of the world. The beauty of, again, these kind of collaborations, while Bordeaux and Waterloo, we see ourselves as equal partners, as great partners. We learn from each other, we learn from our experience, but at some point also we will say, look, there are some other institutions there, they could benefit from our collaboration, and just bring them into your circle. So there are so many ways to do this, but I think the key thing is if we are able to, I will be, of course, I will be delighted to come from a distance or from somewhere to see the 20th year celebration of our partnership.
Yes.
But that will have to be, again, have something very important that exists today, and will have to exist in order for this relationship to continue flourishing, is the spirit of collaboration, spirit of partnership, and how we believe in ourselves. That is a key, and I think it is there. I don't see there's any reason why we should lose it. So again, it is fantastic. I can't tell you how great I feel sitting across from my good friend, my colleague, and having this conversation, because I truly believe we both believe in it. Then we have some wonderful people, great people, who are also working tirelessly, making sure that this is going somewhere.
Well, it really does look like it's going somewhere. I mean, I've been involved only in the last year, and so I've been part of the conversations around the institute, and it looks extremely promising. And honestly, I think it's the right framework for continuing and growing collaborations between the two universities. So unfortunately, we are out of time, so we have to wrap it up. And I would like to thank both of you again for this wonderful conversation, which allowed us to gain some new insights into the relationship between the University of Bordeaux and the University of Waterloo, and I'm sure others enjoyed this conversation as well. So, merci beaucoup à vous deux. Encore une fois, Monsieur Tunand de Lara, c'était un grand plaisir de faire votre connaissance. It was a great pleasure to meet you, and I wish everybody a wonderful day. And I would just like to end by emphasizing yet again that we have many events organized this week for International Week, which, as I said at the beginning, is this year more important than ever. So I would encourage participants to check out the activities, and we're going to sign off now. And thank you again, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening, President Tunand de Lara. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the week, and see you very soon.
And
All of you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.